Hello, and welcome to No Icing with Sandy D. I'm very excited. I've been waiting for this evening. I've been waiting for this special evening. We have a special guest, as always, but tonight you're in for a treat. And let me, as always, bring up my favorite co-host, the man of 1,001 voices, Mr. Rory Penland.
I'm for one with all for talent, you know. Chief. So, good to be here.
How are you?
Maybe I should do an impression of Mudcat.
Yes.
I don't have anything to play, and I can't play anyway. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting show, I think.
Wait, what about my friend that sings the what is that song? The Down at the River.
Are you talking about Curry D. Frog? Why?
No,
so many
you
songs about rainbows.
I haven't seen him in so long. I forgot his name. See what happens, Rory?
Down by the river.
The Corn Dog Blues.
Oh, yeah, we haven't seen him in a while. Jelly Cake.
Jelly Cake. I'm getting old, Rory. This is happening. I can't remember his name, and he hasn't been on in a while. But yes, Jelly Cake.
That's true. He has not been seen in a while. I hope he's okay.
We got to bring him up. Well, okay. So without further ado, tonight we have an amazing guest. Yes. I put some links in the intro if you all want to follow and follow after the show. You can check it out in the intro. There should be some links in there that'll be helpful to everybody. Let me bring her up without further ado. from kind of Atlanta, Georgia, somewhere close to Atlanta, Georgia. Mrs. Kathryn Dudeck.
Yep, there she is. Hey,
I don't know why it was so hard for me to get all that out.
Well, thank y'all so much for inviting me to come on. I'm so excited about this.
Thank you for
we're going to
coming.
talk about animals. Am I right?
Apparently.
Yes. And we're laughing because it's always such good company to be around you and your husband.
Well, thank you. He's in the other room listening as well.
What's up,
Hey,
dude?
Peter.
Yeah.
We love you, bro.
Mr. Dudeck.
Yeah, it's bizarre for me to be doing a live stream and him being in the other room. Usually it's the other way around.
It's the other way around.
It's yeah, that's awesome. Well, you deserve it. All the things that I've read, I've been following up. I've been doing my ethical stalking of you, and I'm just so impressed. Like I feel like I could learn so many things. I feel like I have so much to learn, and you know, just growing up with wildlife, I've always appreciated wildlife, but you know so many things. Tell us the things. What do we need to know as street people?
So honestly, the biggest thing is 99% of the time when people think wildlife needs help, it really doesn't. It's doing its natural thing, and we like to anthropomorphize and go, oh my goodness, it's lonely, it's hungry, it's cold, it's fill in the blank, when in fact it's just doing what it should be doing. And so that's one of the things as a licensed rehabilitator I emphasize to not only the staff I work with, but our volunteers and interns and all of that, that you have to know the natural histories of the animals you're working with, or you're going to do them a disservice. And so that's everything from when their breeding season is to what they prefer to eat. Are they bird eaters or mammal eaters? Are they fish eaters? That type of thing. So I specialize in working with birds of prey, such as hawks and owls and eagles and falcons and vultures and ospreys and kites and things like that, as well as reptiles and amphibians. But of course, nothing is actually a straight line in nature. So I also have to know about all of the mammals that inhabit the same environment, the niches they do, as well as the songbirds in the area, all of that. So what seems like it would be a quick little study ends up being a massive, massive undertaking.
Yeah. You don't say. It's like, and then you can even get into like insects and like what kind of insects they eat, and you know what's good for the, you know, what insects we need around, which ones we don't.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Nature, it's a good way to look at it. I never thought of it that way, but everyone should really think of it. Sometimes you just leave nature alone.
Right, exactly. I mean, granted, humans have a horrible impact on it frequently, but
Yeah,
for the most part, just to kind of take a step back and observe before you dive in and immediately want to try and help when 9 times out of 10 it doesn't need it.
There are some animals that are endangered, though.
Yes.
like the key deer.
Right. Down in the Florida Keys. I actually, when I was doing my undergraduate research, it was in the Florida Keys, and I got to see key deer in my research site, and I was in love with them. They're adorable.
They're little tiny deer.
They are.
And when people try to feed them on the side of the road, the locals there will honk their horns and they'll stop their cars and yell at them, "Don't do that!" You know, it's getting them to come up to the roads, and they get hit.
Right. And
yeah.
You know, speaking specifically of deer, up in northern Midwest Michigan area, a few years ago, they had a freak ice storm that kind of hit without warning. And so all of these neighbors got together and put out salt licks and bird seed and things like that to try and help the deer get through it. and it ended up being fatal to them because their stomach enzymes and digestive abilities change with the seasons.
Hmm.
And so, of course, in the middle of winter, you don't have plants seeding so much. You don't have access to lots of salt and things like that. And their body had not shifted to be able to metabolize any of that. And so it was good Samaritans doing it from the heart, but actually causing much, much more damage. They did the opposite of what they were hoping for.
Hmm.
And it's just like feeding the key deer. It's like what the humans feeding them, what they're feeding them is not what they would naturally be foraging. So it can be
Yeah.
quite detrimental.
And I've heard that a lot about ducks. You know, I had pet ducks. We don't have any at the moment, but unfortunately, nature got to them, and I think a hawk flew away with the last one. We had some fishing wire in the yard to like keep the hawks out. Um, but there was like a 10-minute gap where no one was home, and this one male duck was left alone. And I think some of the fishing wire with the storms maybe came down. So the hawk saw an opportunity, and that's nature, right? Like it's hard not to, when it's your pets, it's hard not to get upset. And that's, I think, a lot of people, especially in California where I am, get upset because you can't have when you have hawks in your backyard, you can't really have little dogs and little cats just wandering around out there helplessly because the hawks are so amazingly strong. They'll come and take your cat, your duck, your chickens, your dog, whatever.
Kind of, sort of. So we actually just lost one of our chickens last week to an immature red-tailed hawk. It's one of the risks we take, having them free range, the 3 acres in the garden and all of that. Interestingly enough, the adult hawks know that they can't physically pick up something the size of a chicken or an adult duck or something like that. So they don't even try. Bird feathers weigh more than their entire skeleton does. So, for instance, red-tailed hawks, which are the largest hawks we have here in Georgia, they're pretty sizable, but they only weigh about 3.25 pounds because those feathers just weigh so much. And the only raptor in all of North America that can pick up its own body weight and carry it off is the great horned owl. That one's about 4.5 pounds, but they can do damage no matter what. And so that's what happened with our hawk. I'm sorry, with our chicken. But again, some of the natural history info is with your small dogs, and if you have outdoor cats, which that's a whole different soapbox I won't get on right now.
Litter box.
Birds of prey see
No,
color.
there's so many people with cats. They want to know. Trust me. I have a cat. I want to know. I want to know. Like I'm scared because the hawks around here are so big. They have a bad reputation of taking your small cats, small dogs.
They
They'll come
can definitely injure them, and kittens and puppies they could potentially carry off. The raptors can see color, and they can see in different color spectra than we can. And so a lot of times what people do is on their dogs especially, they'll have a red collar on it because it looks so good against the black fur, the white fur, what have you, or a red harness, something like that. Well, to a raptor, the bird knows there's no way I can physically carry this animal off, but it looks like it's bleeding profusely from the neck and back. So this will be a very easy mark to take down. In fact, my late mother-in-law had a beautiful white Persian cat that she leash trained, and she used to take it outside. She lived down on the coast of Georgia. She would take it out in the backyard, and there was a great horned owl that always posted up in a big old oak tree right in her backyard and just stared at her, stared at the cat, got closer and closer. And she called me and said, "What do I do?" And I asked her what color harness and leash and all of that. And she said, "Well, red, because it looks beautiful." I said, "Change it to any other color and call me back." And sure enough, she changed it to I think it was a black harness or a yellow harness, something like that. The next time she took her kitty out for a walk in the backyard, I almost spelled it because the dog's in the other room. When she took her kitty out for WALK, The great horn took one look at him and then took off because realized that's not what I thought it was. So
Um,
one of my colleagues who lives in Kentucky, she has a lot of small dogs. She has dachshunds. And what she did was get dog t-shirts and paint giant googly eyes on them, because just like swallowtail caterpillars have those fake eye spots to keep songbirds from eating them, the hawks and
oh,
owls see what looks like a cute little wiggly thing, but it's got giant eyeballs. So it's like, I don't know what this thing is. I'm steering clear of it.
wow, you're right. I've seen those caterpillars.
Right.
My kids call them calipitters, but I've seen those. I've seen those. What they look like eyeballs on the calipitters. I've seen those.
Exactly.
That's
So it's like,
so fascinating.
once you know the animal's behavior, then you can use that to your advantage, not harming the animal, but still protecting your pets or what have you in your yard.
That's fascinating. Yeah. So, why haven't you come up with this idea, Kathryn, of making little doggy shirts with the eyeballs on them?
Because I have so much spare time. I've got the silk screen press in the back room where Danny has all the seedlings growing right now.
I'm just giving you shit. Oh my god. No, what a great idea. Rory, get on this
Well,
tomorrow.
my next question based on that is, I guess this takes up a lot of your time doing what you do.
So as Danny Mudcat can attest to, I pretty much feel like I'm on the clock 24/7.
Mm.
I
Farm
I
life.
need to be better about boundaries. But if I have a neighbor who reaches out to me, because of course any injured or potentially injured wildlife in the neighborhood, I get tagged on Facebook and texted and all of that. And as much as I'd like to say, oh, I got off work at 3:30 today, I'm not answering that till 6:45 tomorrow morning. In my heart and in my mind, I know that there's an animal in distress. And so even if it's not something that I can take, I can at least point them in the right direction. And so, in fact, last year I was giving a presentation for the neighborhood about urban wildlife and how to deal with coyotes cutting through your yard and things like that. And literally, Danny texted me right after I finished the presentation and said, a neighbor just dropped off a box turtle that was hit by a car here at the house. So I was like, I had to tell everybody in the neighborhood group, I was like, I'm so sorry, there's an injured turtle that just got taken to my house, so I've got to head out.
That's okay. Should I show the picture?
Feel free.
Is that the one? Is this the one?
No,
Okay,
no. It's another one that I ended up, we had to amputate one of its legs. This one just came into our rehabilitation clinic at work today. This is an adult male eastern box turtle. He's probably about 20 years old. And this one just came out of brumation, which is reptile hibernation. And we've been in the mid 70s around here recently. So all the reptiles are starting to emerge. And any of them that went into brumation last fall with respiratory infection, parasites, intestinal parasites, anything like that, the issues have had all winter to fester. And so this turtle just came out of brumation. His eyes are horribly infected. He had infectious discharge from his nostrils. So we gave him a warm soak, got his eyes rinsed and flushed, started antibiotics. And within 4 hours, right before I left work today, he actually had both of his eyes open. So I know he is fully sighted. He is going to be on medication for about 3 weeks. And then hopefully he'll start eating by then, because box turtles in particular, the first way they locate food is by sight. Specific colors attracts them. Second, they locate it by sense of smell. And when you've got a really bad respiratory infection and a snotty nose and all of that, you can't eat, you can't find water. So he's quite thin, and he should probably start eating in the next week and a half or so. This box turtle that you're showing right now, Same issue was brought into us yesterday. And
Wow. How
he
big is he in real, like as far as like a hand? Is he?
so adult male eastern box turtles, which
He
is what
looks
we have
big.
down here. Their shell is about that long. He could sit completely in the palm of my hand. His legs would
Okay.
dangle over.
Yeah.
But this is the kind we have here, and we get a lot of respiratory infection box turtles in for rehab, primarily because that respiratory infection is caused by fertilizer, weed and feed put in your yard, as well as pesticide spray. Because not only are they walking through it, but they're ingesting all of the insects, the buds, the seeds, things like that, that have now just been sprayed with all of those chemicals. And one of the rough things about doing rehab with box turtles is they live 75 to 100 years. They only range about 2 miles in their entire lives, and they have a homing instinct like sea turtles do. So if we were to take it out of this perfectly manicured McMansion neighborhood where it came from, because of course, all of the lawn treatment, and go, we're going to put you in the woods 10 miles away, it would spend the rest of its life navigating via the magnetic fields of the earth to get back into its home range. So after all the treatment we do, we still have to put it back in the area it came from. Though Google satellite is definitely our friend, and we look for areas that aren't as developed or wooded areas on the backside of the neighborhood, places like that.
Yeah, he's really beautiful, and well, they're both beautiful, and they're way more colorful than the California turtles, I noticed. And uh, also, there's snapping turtles, which people are probably afraid of snapping turtles because snapping turtles, they will
They snap.
snap, they will bite. But boxing turtles, it's very rare. They don't attack people.
Well,
They don't.
nothing attacks people, it just defends itself. But
Yeah, they don't.
um,
Yeah, exactly.
Not
Like
like
they don't
he
attack.
waits around a
Well,
corner and
shark.
then tries to conk you when you come through.
I mean, honestly, I've had worse bites from box turtles than I have from 20-pound snapping turtles.
Hmm.
So,
Really?
but yeah, because the box turtles, since they like to bite and twist, if I'm trying to restrain one to give injections or something like that, and I don't have the head quite oriented properly, they have a tendency to bite right here in the palm of your hand and take a
Oh.
chunk out of it. But we have two types of snapping turtles in Georgia, but up in our region, we only have the common snapper. And those guys, they get such a bad rap. I mean, they will go for some ducks and geese, but for the most part, they sit at the bottom of the pond, the creek, the lake, whatever, and wait for a frog or a crawdad or a fish to swim by, and they
Yeah.
open their mouth and just suck in all of the water with that animal in it and swallow it.
Wow.
But I have to say, the alligator snapping turtles, those suckers will reach like 200 pounds. The common snappers we have only reach about 40 at the very most.
Do they look like alligators? Wait, let me go back to the photo.
They're quite similar. Their beak, their upper jaw is shaped a little differently, and their carapace, which is the top shell on common snappers, is completely smooth, and on alligator snappers it has ridges down it. But with the alligator snappers, those are the ones that have the little lure on their tongues that looks like a worm, and they sit there with their mouths open, waiting for food to literally swim or paddle into its mouth to investigate the lure, and then they just bite it.
Wow. I didn't know turtles had tongues that did that.
And the alligator snappers do.
Huh.
So,
Rory,
in fact,
I was gonna say, where are you, Rory?
I'm right here.
I see him.
There he is. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, in the deserts here in California, if you go out to the desert, we have jackrabbits. They get pretty big.
Yeah, they do.
The only thing I got to worry about is, we got raccoons that get into our trash every now and again, like Binky. Yeah, I'm still around. Yeah, you guys forgot all about me, didn't you?
Well, I can give you a tip to keep them out of your trash can, Rory.
Okay. Hey, wait a minute. Don't tell him that.
Binky, close your ears.
Ah, Jesus.
So raccoons and other mammals' sense of smell is way, way better than ours is. We've pretty much lost ours over, evolution.
Well, especially mine, because I have cats I'm allergic to, so my nose runs sometimes.
That would do it. No, what you can do, regular old household ammonia. Go to the dollar store, get a jug of it. This works to keep squirrels out of your attic, chipmunks from digging around the foundation of your house, what have you. We don't like the smell of ammonia. It burns our sinuses, burns our mucous membranes. You can imagine if you have a better sense of smell, it's even worse.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, friends of mine are making comments I just happened to see, including Danny. And so what you can do is take a little plastic
don't pay attention to him.
Yeah, don't listen to her.
Take a little plasticware container, put some ammonia in it, put the lid on it, punch some holes in it, and sit it right on the top of your garbage bag under your trash can lid, and it'll permeate through your trash can, and nothing wants to go near that. You just have to remember to, on garbage day, take the ammonia container out so you can reuse it when you put the next bag in.
Good to know.
Ammonia container.
Yeah, it's a bunch of bunk.
Binky may have no sense of smell, so.
Shh! Stop telling him stuff like that. Jeez. Guys gotta eat.
I thought jackrabbits were real until I was 30.
They are real. They're just not in the
Yeah, they're in the desert. They get real big down here in the desert in Mexico. They get huge and.
Oh yeah, I bet she was thinking jackalopes, not jackrabbits.
Yeah, jackrabbits are real. Jackalopes, not so much.
Yeah.
Jackalopes, that's that's a myth.
So we've got eastern cottontails here, actually in the garden as well. There's also swamp rabbits in Georgia and marsh rabbits in Georgia. And I absolutely love the swamp rabbits because they look like they ran into a plate glass door. They have a really short snoot.
Oh, a smush face. I love a smush face.
They got a little swishy face. And instead of the tall, long ears, they have little shorter, rounded ears. So,
living in the swamp.
Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine. Christine Kilsby. She's my best friend from the 3rd grade, Kathryn. Can you believe that?
Oh, my goodness.
She's the one that said, I thought jackrabbits were real until I was 30. And then sweet Lorraine is here. What? Jackalopes aren't real? No. Cute.
But honestly, like that whole natural history thing comes into play with the garden because we're always trying to figure out what's eating the plants out there.
Rabbits every time they'll eat your whole garden.
But how do you know it's a rabbit versus a chipmunk versus a squirrel versus an opossum?
Yeah.
Well, I have a pet rabbit, and I'll tell you, there's no garden that would stand a chance with even one rabbit in my yard.
So
it has to be like 6 feet off the ground or something. 5. I don't know. What's the height? That's a question for you, Kathryn. What's the height I need to keep the rabbits out of my garden?
For cottontails, it only needs to be about 2 feet high, but they're really good at scooting under fencing, but they have really, really sensitive feet, as you know, being a rabbit mom. And so one of the things I recommend is you've got your 2-foot fencing around your garden bed. Take 2 feet of chicken wire and lay it down on the ground, pin it with some stakes or some bricks because they start to hop close to the garden bed. and they feel that wire under their feet before they even reach the bed. And they're like, this is not comfortable. I don't want to be anywhere near it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. And
That's a
one
good
of
tip.
the
Thank you.
ways we
I'm
figure
gonna try
out
that.
what's eating the plants is rabbits always bite off at a 45-degree angle when they're biting stems because they twist their head, and because their teeth, it's always at a 45, versus chipmunks and squirrels that will just take it straight off the top, so it's blunt across. So
Wow.
trying to figure out, like,
So you can tell. And also, I don't know if you guys in Georgia, do you guys have a problem with gophers too?
we have them we have them in Georgia, but not in this area. We have moles more than anything else that could tunnel through. But
because I heard there's a technique to catching gophers from your garden, and but like they go in like little, like they have patterns. They're like
right, exactly,
mathematical patterns, and if you could figure out their patterns, there's somebody, my friend that my cousin that's a farmer. He has an organic farm up here in Bonsall in California, and he told me there's a way that you can catch them, like if you follow their patterns of digging and stuff.
right. Pitfall traps work really well. Once you figure out their patterns, you can literally dig a hole through one of their pathways, sink a plastic coffee can in the ground right there, and then put a piece of tin or lumber over the ground that you dug, and they're going through their pattern and fall into the coffee container. So it's one way you can figure out how many you have going through your property at any given time.
And they can't get out of the coffee container.
Not well, no. But then you've got the catch-22 of what do you do with it once you capture it. And of course everybody's like, oh, we'll just drive it someplace else and release it. And I'm going to be a downer. Most of what my job is a downer, but only about
that. It's educational. No, everybody needs to really listen because it's educational. People are misunderstood every day. It's the uneducation of wildlife that causes a lot of the problems.
Right. I mean, that's why I work with the animals I do. Everybody's like, why aren't you a vet? Why don't you work in a zoo? Things like that. And the thing is, I was quite blessed with parents who wanted me to know where food comes from and what plants are edible and how to hunt and fish and all of that. So I grew up doing all of that, even though I've been vegetarian close to 40 years now. I still do all of that. And so, but I still cook meat for Danny. White Oak Pastures meat, I will cook for him. He's cheering.
I heard him cheer.
Woo.
I need my steak. I need my burgers.
Yeah, we had we had takeout tonight. So, but no, it's like my folks wanted me to know where food comes from, and honestly, if I had to survive out in the woods, how to do it and things like that. And so my grandparents' generation, I'm Gen X, so my grandparents' generation, and actually my grandparents all had farms out in South Georgia, West Georgia, places like that. So they knew all of these tips and tricks and, how to keep hawks from eating your chickens and things like that. And zoos were like such a novelty because, I mean, my, grandparents that are now in their 90s, 100s, they're not going to go to Africa and see what a lion looks like in situ or anything like that. So zoos were popular. And those have remained popular. And what I like to ask kids that are come like, I want to do what you do. I'm like, tell me everything you can about koala bears. And they will talk for like 20 minutes straight. And I'm like, tell me about Cooper's hawks. And they have them in their own backyard and they don't know a thing about them. And so luckily, the way I was raised, I learned all about these things, not to the extent I know them now, of course. And I was surprised that my friends, elementary school, middle school, high school, what have you, didn't know this stuff when we had these animals living in our own neighborhood. And so that's why I kind of dedicated my life to studying these guys and hoping to give to give enough information that other people appreciate them as much as I do. And so, like with once you trap an animal, it used to be, oh, just drive it 5 miles away. It won't find its way back. It'll be fine. Well, what happens is if that's suitable habitat for that species, it's already filled with those individuals. So you are literally dumping an animal into the middle of a turf war that doesn't know where food is, shelter is, anything like that. And I liken it to, Rory, I assume you've never been to, let's say, Bolivia.
No.
All righty.
You are correct.
If I were to blindfold you, put you on a plane, drop you in a village in Bolivia and say, look, there are other people here. There's homes and restaurants and places to go to hang out. You'll be fine. People aren't going to be real happy when you stroll into their house because you need to use their facilities or anything. And with animals, because they have such a small area. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Since they have such a small area that the individuals live in, you're potentially introducing diseases, parasites, all sorts of things into that new population, kind of like smallpox on the blanket, so to speak. And so the best thing to do is the tricks like the ammonia and things that deter them naturally from being in the area, because then they will go find their own area on their own that they're gradually expanding to. So they're not becoming somebody else's problem and getting their butts kicked by the other raccoons or opossums or squirrels or whatever in the new habitat.
What would you say is like the most overestimated animal, or like something you might find in your backyard, like as far as like the lizard story? Like I'll tell you guys, Kathryn and I was telling her my lizard story, Rory. One time I was at an office building and this lady, there was a beautiful lizard, maybe like 12 inches long, beautiful, healthy lizard. And he somehow got into the lady's bathroom, and she was the attendant on the schedule. And she annihilated this lizard with her broomstick. And she didn't speak English. So there was a little translation barrier, but I was trying to tell her like, no, the lizard's good. You know, he eats insects, he eats mosquitoes, he eats spiders. And she was like shocked. She had no idea. She was like, really? She was like, oh no. And then she started feeling bad. And I was like, it was too late. The lizard was done. There was nothing I could do to save him at that point. By the time it took me to explain it to her, it took me time. I took the time to try to explain it to her. Like, no, lizards don't bite you. They don't hurt you. They're good. We want them around. You want a lizard around. And so Kathryn and I understand. We understand that language.
Yes.
Lizard language.
So I'm going to say the two biggest, that one that scares the bejesus out of people and one that just irritates the tar out of rehabbers. First, the irritating one. Low power mode on my phone. The irritating one is mother rabbits don't sleep with their offspring. They just come once a day and once a night to nurse them. And so when you're out in your yard, you're cutting the grass, what have you, you uncover a rabbit nest and you see a whole bunch of rabbit fur in these baby rabbits and think, oh my gosh, I just ran over mom. I just killed her, what have you. I have to save all of these babies. So what happens is mom, the charger's down here. So what happens is mom, she digs out a shallow depression that's only a couple inches deep, plucks out her chest fur to line the nest, has her babies, covers them up. She comes at dusk and she comes at dawn to nurse them, because if you've ever been around rabbits, they have quite an odor to them, but baby rabbits don't. So she doesn't want to sleep with them for fear of attracting predators. And so the kind of the running joke amongst wildlife rehabbers is put the baby back. Just put the baby back. Put the baby back. I get people that. Always think, oh, it smells lonely, like humans.
It's abandoned. It needs help.
Right. Because they're always
No,
like,
the mother's coming back for it. A lot of times the mother is coming for it.
they will continue to look for them. And
Hmm.
people always say, well, I've already touched it, it smells like human, she'll reject it. I'm like, no, 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 no. Old wives' tale. I
Oh,
liken that to, you go to a family reunion and that aunt you haven't seen in ages who wears way too much perfume comes up and gives you a big old hug. You're gonna reek of that perfume, but your parents will still put you in the car and take you home. It's the same thing. We are going to move my phone over
That's a
here
great
slightly to
analogy.
charge it.
well, that happened to me as a kid. A baby bird fell out of a nest, and I was like, "Oh, should I pick it up and put it back in the nest?" And people were like, "No, no, no, don't pick it up. You'll get human smell on it, and the mother will kill it."
So all of that with the baby birds came about with Teledingo, Lorraine, because so birds can't learn how to fly if they're already up in the air in a nest. So what happens is, this is kind of another running joke at work. Come spring, we get phone calls, and the people in the clinic that are doing other things, all they hear on us saying is it naked, covered in fluff, or fluff, feathers, and a stumpy tail? So what happens is, when they're fluff, feathers, and a stumpy tail, they're fledglings, which means they're all baby flab, but they're too big for the nest. So if they don't jump onto the ground, the parents physically push them onto the ground to teach them how to fly from the ground up. And so they will hop around down on the ground looking pitiful for about 3 to 5 days while they're flapping their wings and getting short hops and all of that and building up all those muscles. And if you find them at that age and put them back up in the nest, if they don't jump out again on their own, the parents fly back up and go like, how the heck did you get back up here? I just put you down there to teach you, and now you're back up here. How did you do it? So, and so they're not rejecting them. They're trying to continue the lessons with them.
A turtle.
The other thing that scares people.
Like the owls. We didn't even get to the owls. Look at the cute owls. Oh my God, they're so cute. Look at them.
The great horned owl, the baby you were showing earlier.
Oh, the baby. Okay, the baby.
Yeah. That bird is the equivalent of a fledgling songbird, but with raptors, it's called branchers, because they learn how to fly by jumping from branch to branch and tree to tree. My rehabilitation clinic receives over 800 injured and orphaned birds of prey and reptiles every year. This one was learning how to fly, and this is one of the few cases we ever receive that was not caused by humans, either directly or indirectly. This bird, while learning to fly, got wedged in a crepe myrtle tree, where one of the trees that has a whole bunch of different trunks, and it got stuck in there and couldn't get out. So it abraded one of its shoulders really, really badly. And so this bird is on anti-inflammatories and antibiotics and bandaging while we let the tissue heal. And it might only weigh 2.5 pounds, but it thinks it's about 2.5 tons and hisses at us. It tries to attack because, of course, it's defending itself because we're a lot bigger than it is. And we have a really good chance that of being able to reunite it with its family in about a week once all the tissue heals on it.
Yeah. And you're right about a lot of times, an animal in nature is, if it's a wild animal, a lot of times it doesn't want to hurt you. It's more scared of you than you are of it.
100%.
You're right. Leave the babies. If you see the babies, because my friend Christina said she called me for advice, and she found like a tree trunk filled with baby bunnies, and I think she sent me a picture of it, and I thought, oh, cute. She's just sending me a picture. I didn't know she really needed my advice, but yeah, like what you said, like I wouldn't know. I would call you. What you said is leave them alone. The mom's probably going to come back, right?
Right. And
So,
Bunnies are a little weird. I can't speak to jackrabbits because I don't work with them. But with the cottontails and the rabbits we have here, you could literally move the babies 5 feet over and mom will not know they're her babies. She is hardwired. She knows where she had her babies and she will not locate them, even if they're moved ever so slightly. So,
wow.
and, we get a lot of calls. Well, my dog found the nest. I know where it is. My dog's going to keep going after it. I need to bring them to a rehabber. And of course,
Wow. Yeah.
babies are best raised by their own kind. And rehabilitators throughout the country, by law, cannot charge for their services, nor do they receive government funding. No tax dollars goes towards it. So the
Why not?
800 plus animals
Especially
a year.
now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The 800 plus animals a year that we receive at my clinic, our food bill alone is $3,000 a month, not including medical bills, veterinary bills, anything like
Wow.
that. And so rehabbers rely solely on donations from caring and kind-hearted individuals. And with cottontails, mom will only go in and out of the nest from opposite sides. She'll never go into the nest, nurse the babies, turn around and leave that way. Because any predator watching her will be like, ooh, there's something really cool in there. I need to go check out.
So they're very
Yeah.
discreet. Yeah. They're secret.
They are. So
look what she just said. She said we left them and put a fence. Is that the right thing to do? Or I don't know. The fence might prohibit the mama from getting back to her babies, no?
You can do a fence, but the trick is to do 2 small openings on opposite sides of the nest. So that way she can go in through
Only
the
she
fence,
can get in.
nurse, and shoot out the other side.
Oh.
We've used copy paper boxes, pinned down, cut out the short ends, sit that
That's
down and
clever.
put bricks on top so the dogs don't get to it, things like that. So
Yeah.
with
Have to avoid
cottontails,
dogs.
from the minute they're
Yeah.
born till they're self-sufficient is 3 weeks. So we're not talking, having your dog pinned on a leash in your backyard for any massive length of time.
Yeah.
And once those babies are out of there and mom realizes, oh, this is dog territory, she's not going to have a second litter in the same area.
So, what else, what about opossums? Can we talk a little bit about opossums? Because opossums, as far as I know, and you're probably, I'm sure, more educated than me on this, but they are like the only natural marsupials to the United States.
You are correct.
Okay.
I win a prize. So crazy. Opossums, honestly, are some of my favorite animals to work with. We don't rehabilitate them, but we have non-releasable ones we use for education and that we have on exhibit. And they're fascinating animals. So seeing as how this is primarily all adults that watch this show, I can tell you.
Yeah, I could put a disclaimer for no children too. If you need to.
No, it's all natural. It's scientific.
Okay, science.
Opossums have a bifurcated, male opossums have a bifurcated penis, which means it's forked. And it was originally thought in medieval times that possums and opossums, those are 2 different animals, mated by
Rory's waking up. Rory's waking
by
up.
the male mating with
I always
the
thought they were just
nostrils.
possums. The O is silent. You're both are saying opossum, and I'm like, what the? I thought they were possums.
So
you're missing the point of the story, Rory.
Okay,
they mate like other mammals do.
Winky penis. Got it.
It's
got a winky penis.
So what we have are opossums, the black and white, whiskers, long snoot, all of that. Possums are found in South America and in Australia. They're about the size of flying squirrels, yay big. In Australia, lots of them are actually considered not invasive, but problematic to the point where they actually will make fur vests and jackets out of them because they're so plentiful.
But what about their penis?
Look totally different.
Okay.
So our Virginia opossum, people
Do
think
we
they're
have a
hideous.
picture of that on the website, Kathryn?
I can send you one. So
No, I didn't.
Opossum porn.
so
Do
our
you know?
natives, people think that they're filthy. They carry all sorts of diseases, things like that.
Yeah,
In fact, their
they're not.
body temperature is only about 94 to 95 degrees, which is too cold for the rabies virus to replicate.
Right.
Rabies likes about 98
Misunderstood. They're the
and
most
higher.
misunderstood marsupials.
Right. So I'll never say they're immune to it, but they cannot naturally
This is
contract
like a
rabies.
1% chance. It's such a slim pickings.
So tiny.
Slim chance.
And they have a live fast, die young lifestyle. In the wild, they only live 2 years. They have 13 babies at a time, because she has 13 teats in her pouch, and they have more teeth in their mouth than any mammal in North America. So their first line of defense actually isn't playing opossum, it's yawning, because they go and show this giant mouthful of teeth, and everybody goes, "It's so cute, look at it, it's sleepy." And when that does not deter said predator, whether it be human or dog or what have you, that's when they play possum. And scientists are constantly debating whether it's a conscious or subconscious reaction, but it's mighty effective, because when they do it, their eyes roll back, their tongue hangs out, they drool, and they urinate and defecate on themselves. So nothing wants to mess with them at that point.
Wow.
This animal's a mess. I'm not biting that. Jeez.
Not at all. And they're all dark.
I don't know if you got to get on TikTok. On TikTok, they got videos of people that find possums in their backyard, and like there's like these cute, beautiful girls, and they're like going out to their car, and they see these possums in the yard, and they're like, "Oh, it's so cute," and they pet it, and they're petting it, and the thing is opening its mouth, and it's like,
right,
and they're like, "Oh, it's so cute," and the possum's just sitting there letting him pet it with his mouth open.
So it's actually a stress and shock response, just like we have flight or fight. Theirs is, because they're a prey animal for the most part, they freeze. And if they get too stressed from it, they will actually die from the shock. And that's true of any animals.
From the stress?
Yes. Stress kills faster than any injury. And this is why I can't watch anything on the Dodo website, because they're like, "Look at my rabbit. It loves getting a bath in the bathroom sink, and it's laying on its back." And lateral recumbency is what that is, and it shuts their system down. So they end up getting lactic acid built. I told you I'm a downer when it comes to this, but it's important.
No, we need to know. The people need to be educated on wildlife.
Right.
Otherwise, they're gonna be whacking possums and lizards with their broomsticks, man.
Right, exactly. In general, if there is an animal in your area that you don't want near you, venomous snake, what have you.
Most of them don't want to hurt you. Most of them don't.
Exactly. And
most of them are more scared of you than you're scared of them.
100%. And what you can do is just take your garden hose and spray in front of that animal. Nobody likes a big old shot of water at them. And that gives them a negative connotation to your area, so they don't want to continue returning to it. So it's the easiest way to deal. People love king snakes because they eat venomous snakes. But these are the same people that want to kill all the copperheads in their yard or in their neighborhood. Once you do that, there's no food for the king snakes, so the king snakes leave. And they're like, "Why haven't I seen a king snake?" Well, you've taken all of its food away. That's why. So everything's important, except I will be the first to admit there are two animals I wouldn't say terrified of, but that I will not handle without gloves and hemostats. Slugs and earthworms. Both of them freak me out to no end. And I will own that. I have no issues with it.
I
Now,
used to play with
slug is like a
earthworms. They
leech,
used to
right?
dig them up in New York when I was a kid. They used to dig them, giant earthworms, like 12 inches, 11 inches
Yes.
long. Oh my gosh, no! And they bite. I've been bitten by worms. I hate worms. I do not. I don't. I've been bitten by worms. People fish with them, and that's like my pet peeve of fishing. Is like I don't want to do lake fishing because I've been bitten by worms. I don't worms and me. I love caterpillars. I'll hold a caterpillar all day long, but not a worm.
I
That's funny because some caterpillars will bite you and it hurts a lot.
It
oh yeah,
hurts.
the saddlebacks that we have here, they pack a punch with their poisonous spikes for sure.
Yeah.
So,
I will not touch a caterpillar. Sorry. I just
Really?
don't want to take the chance.
You know what my favorite insects is? Tell me if what you think about this because we're running out of time. But what about the locusts? When I was little, I used to play with locusts. Like we had the like a year of the locusts, and I was a kid. I had no fear whatsoever.
mhm,
And during our lunch hour playtime, I would go and I would put the locusts all over, and they would just hang out on my shoulders and my arms, and like
mhm.
they never bit me. They never bothered me. Like
They
they were
don't
so
have mouths.
sweet. They were like my little
Shocking.
pets.
Yeah,
Are you talking about
cicadas.
the black grasshoppers that turn into big yellow ones?
Oh, the lubber grasshoppers. Yeah. With the cicadas, they don't have mouths as
Those are
adults. They only live a few
Cicadas,
days.
yes, cicadas. That's the professional term. We
Cicadas.
call them
Oh, okay.
locusts.
Right. And they're type. And no, we have them around here. We're due for another big emergence this year of them, and the chickens love them. They will chase them through the yard when they find
Oh,
them.
that
So
it's so much protein for the chickens.
it's
Wow.
their emergence is tied with baby songbird season because that's a lot of what would be the food for songbirds, baby songbirds. But what we get, because we're in the city, we're suburb of
Cicada
Atlanta.
snacks.
Well, what happens is like there's been so much development. Like I think we're having a 7-year brood emerge this year. And when I think of all of the wooded area that's now parking lots and apartment complexes that was woods 7 years ago, we're not going to have that emergence because the cicadas want to come out and there's now suddenly asphalt instead of woods. So if we go to the North Georgia mountains, we'll see a ton of them, but we don't see that many down here with the big emergences.
Wow.
Again, humans not realizing the effects small things have on the bigger population and wildlife.
They put concrete over them, just like some gangsters do. Jimmy Hoffa.
There we go.
Sorry. Yeah, so good. So now if anyone has questions about wildlife or in their own backyard, no matter where you live, they should reach out to you, and if you have time, you'll get back to them, right? Like
I will definitely answer
if you have
anybody's
time,
questions.
try to get back to them, and maybe you could save some nature, save some wildlife, and yeah, always like don't assume like probably you could Google a lot of things. Nowadays we have the magic of the internet. Google, it's amazing what the internet can provide for us as far as education for our pets, our dogs, our cats, our backyards, all the wildlife in our yards.
And there is a fantastic website and phone app, free app. It covers the entire country called Animal Help Now. The website is just ahnow.org. It will put you in touch with a rehabilitator license for whatever animal you need. You literally put in your location, click wildlife emergency, select the type of animal, reptile, small mammal, bird, what have you, and it lists every person licensed for it from closest to farthest from your location. It is fantastic. I've used it when I've been out of state. And thank you, Lorraine.
I know Lorraine, I told her before we started this show, I was like, we could talk, like we're going to be able to talk for hours. This hour is going to go so fast. I'm like,
It did. It has flown by.
I can't believe it's flown by. What?
So ah.com.
ahnow.org.
Now.org. Yeah.
ahnow.com.
Org.
.org.
Org.
Yeah.
Org.
Animal
Yeah.
Help Now. Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah,
Danny just put it up.
I would love to have you back on the show, and everybody go check out the intro because I have so all of Kathryn's links are in the intro, guys. So check that out if you get time. Let's look at some pictures real quick. Let's see. Look at this. So beautiful.
We've seen that
Let's
one
just
quite a
go
bit,
through some
actually.
pictures real quick. And check out this
I like that
website,
one.
y'all. Oh, look how cute.
This red-tailed hawk was hit by a car. That barred owl hit by a car has eye trauma.
Oh, look how cute.
That turkey vulture got released yesterday. It was treated for lead poisoning from deer hunting.
Lead poisoning.
Yep, it was eating the gut pile at a deer hunting camp.
This guy?
Car collision, currently blind in his left eye. And
His eye, I was going to say his eye
toe.
looks a little sore or something.
Yeah.
Aww.
Another vehicle collision.
Ah.
That bird should be graduating to an outside cage tomorrow. The eye trauma is almost fully resolved.
Gorgeous. Look at him. Look at him.
That is a young 1-year-old red-tailed hawk, also hit by a car. This is our most common injury we receive.
Beautiful. Gorgeous.
Just fly into a car?
It looks terrified.
That is a normal young male red-tail look. That is typical.
He's
for
gorgeous.
them.
He looks terrified though.
So, Rory, when they locate a prey item with red tails, they love squirrels. They get so fixated on it, they lose their peripheral vision. And so they will fly all the way across an expressway to get to a squirrel on the other side, oblivious to all the cars.
Yeah.
He looks, you know what? He looks like a guy from Ohio that ended up at Harlem at 3 a.m.
I bet he probably feels a little bit like that when we did the exam too.
He's like he ended up in Harlem at 3 a.m. He doesn't know how he got there. He woke up and doesn't know anything.
He's like, I'm relaxed.
Oh, this guy. This is like a real housewives of Beverly Hills getting fired. You can't fire me.
Exactly. He was not happy. I was holding him while I took his picture, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna hit you with my wing."
So cute. Look at it's just gorgeous. Look at the coloring. It's like art. Their feathers or coloring is like art.
That red-shouldered hawk got released today after 28 days in rehabilitation.
So beautiful. Looks like artwork. Looks like artwork to me.
Yeah, you don't have those out your way, Sandy.
No. We have great horned. We have the barn owls. We have the snowy white owls. We have the great horned owls. Look at this guy.
Clearly we're getting a lot of red-tailed hawks in this season.
Beautiful.
So that's like the ultimate for you is when you finally get to re-release them out into the wild.
Yes, definitely. Because we see the worst of the worst. We're like a trauma level hospital on a Friday night with what we see. Leg hold traps meant for coyotes that caught hawks and owls. As I said, the shootings, poisonings, things like that. That great horned owl adult you just showed actually got caught in line put over a chicken coop. It couldn't see the monofilament line, and it got wrapped all the way around its wings.
He was trying to get some chickens that night.
Actually, he was trying to get the rats that night. They were eating the chicken feed because the chickens were up for the night.
Oh.
But they did not bring the chicken feed up for the night.
Wow. Look how gorgeous he is, though. Gorgeous.
I mean, we've already had 107 raptors brought to us since January 1st. This, unfortunately, is one that had to be euthanized. That's a gunshot victim, and all of the bright white in there is shrapnel from the ammunition. And that's supposed to be one piece of bone, not 7.
Oh,
So as I said, like a trauma level hospital on a Friday night.
oh my gosh, yeah, beautiful.
But no, the being able to release them, especially when you didn't think they had a chance in hell of recovery, but you still put forth the effort and the time and the finances and all of that, and then they finally decide to turn that corner and go, oh, everything makes sense now. I know what I'm supposed to do. And we put them in a 35-foot long cage, and they start catching live mice, things like that. We're like, we didn't think you were gonna make it. This is awesome. And so there are only 7 of us in the state licensed to rehabilitate birds of prey, and 3
Are
of us
you
work at the nature
are
center.
you licensed to are you licensed to train people? Like, can you train me and to become licensed?
You would have to shadow me for 34 hours doing what I do, and then you can head back to California. Build all of your caging. You have to build it out of your own pocket to state and federal guidelines, and apply for your permit. They will come out, inspect your facilities. You have to have a vet willing to work with you, because obviously you need medications and x-rays and things like that. And you can then start doing rehabilitation.
That's probably the toughest part, though, is getting the vet to cooperate with you, because even though they probably love animals, they don't get a lot of pay for that, right?
Exactly. And we're quite blessed in that our avian vet and our mammal reptile vets do all of their work pro bono for us, for both our rehab animals and our resident animals, because we have about 100 residents, from bald eagles down to beaver, turtles, tortoises, vultures, snakes, that are all injured and non-releasable, that are either on exhibit or used for educational programs. And as crazy as it sounds, you go to vet school for all 4 years and never study wildlife, much less put your hands on it. So licensed rehabilitators are kind of the bridge between the general public and vets, because we know the federal laws, like you cannot legally amputate a bird's wing above the elbow joint. Vets don't know that because they're not trained the way we are. And so it's a very necessary partnership to have a good vet that you trust, and your vet trusts you in your judgments.
Well, Kathryn, I hope you come up with a doggy clothing, or doggy or cat clothing line with the eyeballs on it, and
The Hoopo Acres hawk repellent.
I will. Yeah, I'll make an ad for you, and I'll run your ad if you want.
I love it.
You can sponsor my show, and we'll promote your ad. But yeah, also thank you for educating people, because like on the basic things, like lizards are good. We don't want to kill them.
You don't want to kill anything. You just want to deter it.
Possums are good. We don't want to kill them. Yeah, you don't want to kill them, and you don't want to dump your fish tank into your local pond either, because that causes a lot of problems too.
So many. Don't release your pets into the wild, your pet turtles, anything like that.
Yeah, don't release it into the wild.
Go to Animal Help Now, ahnow.org, find a rehabber, ethically rehome your animals.
And I had to do that one time. I had a fish tank. I was roommating with college students. We were all going to college, and we had a fish tank, and it was like, yeah, I got tired. Everyone moved out and moved on with their life, and I got stuck with this fish tank. So I went back to the local fish store, and they took them all back.
Right.
You could give them back to your local fish store, but you don't want to release it into like a local pond or river or whatever, because then that causes ecological problems that carry on for like, lifetimes. So
there's a lake in the middle of Atlanta, in Piedmont Park, and they found pacu in it, which are similar to piranha. People had dumped their pacus from their fish tank into the pond.
Exactly, because they just want to get rid of it. They're done with it. They want to get rid of it, but then it causes long-term ecological effects with funguses and
sounds like a horror movie script.
Parasites, whatever. Yeah, it becomes a horror story. So yeah, don't
So
be that
true.
guy. Don't be that guy. Call
Well, thank
Kathryn.
you so much
Message
for having
Kathryn
me.
first. We'll
Thank
tell you
you
how to
for
get rid of
enlightening
it.
us, enriching us.
It
Thank
was
you.
my pleasure.
Thank you.
To
I
deter
hope
the
you come
animals
back
from wanting to
again.
be in your neighborhood.
And I love how you're always in the background with your husband's lives. You're always like, I could always hear you. I'm like, Kathryn's there. Kathryn's there. I know Kathryn's there.
Well, I have to replace the apple juice on a regular basis, though he did not offer to replace my grape juice during this show.
Uh-oh.
The grape juice? Oh.
Someone's
Slacking
going to
on the
get a
grape
note after
juice
the
over
show.
there.
Well, he's apologizing from the other room. So.
This is what we're gonna say.
To
the no, 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 hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Listen, I got kids dropping out of school, talking about they don't want to learn, but they're standing on the corner rolling blunts, talking about come on, let's burn. They'll do that.
Hey, you gotta bring her that juice.
He rectified it.
Brought some grape juice. Woo!
I've even made homemade from the muscadines in the garden before.
Watch this, guys. Watch this, you guys.
You done left fingerprints and all. You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
A crime scene investigator photo.
I've never been on live television before, but apparently sometimes I don't watch I don't watch the news because I'm a kid, and apparently Grandpa just gives me a remote after we watch the Powerball.
It's the Powerball.
I did not mean to do that.
Don't.
Anyway, sorry, I just think those clips are so funny, Rory.
I guess you do.
Lorraine's laughing. Look, at least I got one laugh emoji from Lorraine. Thank you.
But you've
Thank
got
you,
a bird's
Mudcat.
book
We love
right
you.
behind you there. Do you have
You're
Birds of the West Indies by James Bond?
No, it's Birds of
The original
North
James
America
Bond.
from the Smithsonian.
Okay, so we'll see you guys next week. Kathryn, if you have time, come tune in next Thursday. We have my friend David Maldonado. He was nominated for Grammys. I think multiple Grammys. He's a flamenco guitarist. So tell your husband.
Ooh,
Tell the happy
nylon string.
Yeah, you're gonna love David. He goes by David.
David.
You remember him, Rory? He was on a couple years ago.
It's on a while back, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys will like him. He's awesome. And his whole family is all musicians. So it's great.
We'll definitely try and tune in.
Okay, we'll see you guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Mwah. We love you. Thank you, Kathryn. Love you. Thank you for educating us. I want you to come back, educate us some more about wildlife in the backyard, wildlife everywhere.
Anytime. I'm more than happy to.
Love you guys.
To the no, 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 hell to the no, hell to the no.
Oh, it's just like, dude, you get the best barrels ever, dude. Just like you pull in and you just get spit right out of them. And you just drop in and just smack the lip. Whoop-ah, drop down, snap, and then after that, you just drop in, you just ride the barrel and get pitted, so pitted like that.
Surveillance tape is